There's so much more to the Karoo than what most people imagine. We're heading for the Buffelsrivier, a river that once tore through Laingsburg. It's a hidden gem that most people drive straight past without even knowing. Days of riverbed travel, some technical 4x4, and even wild camping. Did we need a recovery? And is the GWM still proving to be reliable? Well, let's dive right into it. We're here at the Karoo pot stall, or farm stall, taking a bit of a break. And we're on our way to a little known gem, another one of those unknown locations that we found and want to go and take a look at. It's an interesting one, and it's kind of fitting that we're at the Karoo Potstall because it is a place in the Karoo. It's going to be cold, it's going to be epic, there's going to be some great views, and there might be a recovery or two because there seems to be some 4x4 trails at this location. So there's also another member of the family, a new member of the family. Say hello, Ellie. She's very excited. Look how excited she is. And obviously Ash is here as well. So, the whole family is going on a trip. A quick rewind to this morning. We had a nice and early start and kept the driving easy. As we headed south, farmland and grassland gave way to the quieter Nama Karoo. We also made a couple of short stops and topped up one last time before entering Laingsburg. Laingsburg sits just below a confluence where the Buffels meet the Wilgehout and Boviant rivers. Most days these catchments are dry, in the rain shadow or dry side of the Langeberg, Swartberg and Witteberg ranges. But sometimes coastal systems push moist air over the mountains. And that's exactly what happened in late January 1981. Heavy rain across all three rivers sent a surge through town, taking more than 100 lives. Today we're following those same channels. Peaceful now, but you are reminded of the power of nature by the Flood Museum, a worthy stop that tells the story in full. We finally get off the tarmac and make our way into the farm. After a quick chat with the fantastic hosts, we get ready by airing down our tires, as we have no idea what to expect. There you have it, Buffelsrivier camping. So this is a little known gem. I watched a few people come and drive here. It seems really nice. I mean, you have a bunch of, I think it's an 8,000 hectare farm, and you can kind of drive around here and camp wherever you feel like. And yeah, it looks pretty awesome. And we just wanted to get away, so this seems to be the place to do it, right in the Karoo. So I'm just deflating my tires now because we do have a riverbed that we're going to be driving across. I don't know how much water is in there. We had like a few small water crossings, but nothing major at all. I don't know how soft the sand is. So we'll give it a bit of a test, and we'll find our campsite for tonight because it is getting a bit late. It's already, it's around what, 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the afternoon already at this point. So we're quickly going to go find a campsite, and we're just going to hang out and plan our next day. An 8,000 hectare farm tucked away in a quiet corner of the Karoo, a proper hidden gem. For the next few days it's just us, free to explore and camp wherever we'd like. First, a quick stop at the main campsite for wood and ice. There's power, ablution facilities and a simple trust system. Take what you need, note it and pay later. We weren't planning to keep it that easy though. We continued on to find a wild camp. With the sun dropping, we kept day one relaxed, a lesson learned from our Nama Karoo trip, link on the top right. A few minutes down the track, a small stake marked W1 caught our eye, Wild Camp 1. We went in to check it out, and we weren't disappointed. kept day one simple, camp up, fire going, and the Karoo settling into silence. The little stream threading past camp breaks the silence, along with some other wildlife taking advantage of the evening's cooler temperatures. We've heard some stories of people getting bogged in this riverbed, with no signal and nothing to winch off of. That can turn tricky fast. Tomorrow we'll discuss some simple recovery options that I'm hoping we wouldn't need. As the sun completely disappears, so did the temperature. If it gets too cold, we might end up starting the car for some heat, but let's see how the night treats us. For now, a quick braai, a quiet meal, and an early night is in order. We have a big day tomorrow. It's around 8 a.m. now at the moment, and we're just getting woken up. I didn't really get cold last night. Love, did you get cold last night?
No.
No, we didn't get cold last night at all. We had enough blankets and we slept pretty well. So I'm getting camp sorted out now. There's a bunch of crap lying all over the place. So I want to get this all neat and tidy, make some coffee. We'll probably make some breakfast as well. And then we can get started with our day. While wife made breakfast, I did a quick once over on the vehicle. Coolant, oil, tire pressures, leaks. We've got no signal, so small problems can become big walks. At this point, I had no idea a bigger hiccup was still coming. Getting ready to pack up and leave. We're just doing the dishes and then taking down the awning, and then we're good to go. So, we've got a few options here. Downriver or upriver, and then we also have an option going back there and continuing the track. I think we are going to first of all backtrack on the riverbed a bit, see where it goes and see if there's anything interesting or cool, and hopefully don't get stuck, because this sand here is it's quite soft, especially closer to the river. It looks hard there. That's okay, like that's manageable, but as soon as you get to the silty stuff like this, you almost just sink right in. So if we have to do a recovery, we do a recovery. If not, we're all good. The only problem is you don't have much to winch off of unless you can get the winch to the hillside somewhere. So I'm not too worried about it. We should be all good. We drove downriver for a bit, but eventually decided to backtrack and rejoin the intended route. It was an easy stretch. Wife handled most of the driving, so we just took it easy, took in the scenery and admired the way the river had carved its way through the landscape. We came across a few more wild camp markers and stopped to check them out. Before long, we found ourselves back in the riverbed and presented with some potential water crossings. I tasted the surface, shallow water, solid rocky base underneath, so I took the chance to practice a few low-range water crossings. It was all just for fun. With the tires at 1 bar or 14 psi, the vehicle handled it like a champ, and not once making me doubt my choice. Shortly after, we were back on track, and lucky for us, the terrain and landscape was about to get a little bit more interesting. As we pushed further along, the terrain started to get a bit more technical. Finally engaging enough to switch into 4-wheel drive. few rocky climbs, some loose sand, and then the landscape would open up again with sweeping views that made every turn worthwhile. But what really adds depth is knowing where we're driving, right through the meeting point of the Nama Karoo and Succulent Karoo biomes. I don't know what it is, but the Karoo has always interested me. It's not that kind of beauty you find in a tropical island. No palm trees, no turquoise water, but something far more haunting. A kind of quiet, rugged beauty that lingers in your mind the longer you're here. Maybe it's the drastic temperature swings, where the days burn under a relentless sun and the nights fall below freezing. That's because of the sparse vegetation and dry air, which can't hold heat once the sun dips below the horizon. Maybe it's the climate, dry, brutal and unforgiving. Rain falls here only when it feels like, and when it does, it's usually a dramatic, fleeting event. Yet somehow, life thrives. The plants you find out here, like the hardy ghana and tiny succulents, are just masters of survival. Most have thick skins, shallow roots, or have no leaves at all, just to hold on to every last drop of moisture. And the animals, springbok, bat-eared foxes, and even the elusive aardvark, all adapted to move quietly, feed sparingly, and live without waste. But I think what gets me the most is the geology. This landscape was once part of an ancient inland sea, long dried up and pressed into rock over hundreds of millions of years. What you're driving through now, the rocks, the cliffs, the fossil beds, are the remnants of something far older than any desert. A time capsule, baked in silence. We kept on exploring, checking out as many spots as time allowed, and stopping every now and then so the doggos could stretch their legs and cool off. It was properly heating up out here. The Karoo never stops to amaze me with its extremes. Out here a 25-degree swing between day and night isn't unusual, and you feel every bit of it. After a quick rest and me forgetting to turn my mic on, we pushed on, trying to cover as much ground as we could. Little did I know, my next bright idea would involve this. In a place like this where you don't have anything to winch off of. More on that later. For now we focused on finding the klipstoer and keeping track of all the amazing spots we find along the way, since we still need to pick a campsite for the night. And we're definitely not short on options. We made it to the klipstoer, but unfortunately there were people either camping or working there, so we couldn't go in, and out of respect I didn't want to film too closely or invade anyone's privacy. I will, however, include this image from the Buffelsrivier camping website. The Klipstoer was built in the early 1900s and is one of the only 21 buildings that survived the devastating Laingsburg's flood of 1981. It's always been a favorite stop for visitors out here. After that, we drove a bit more, hoping to explore further, but eventually had to call it and make our way back to the campsite we chose for the night. The drive back was going really well, until this happened. So what do you do if you get stuck in a place like this where you don't have anything to winch off of? As you can see, we were pretty stuck. Not really. Front wheels are not dug in. I purposefully left it in two-wheel drive to demonstrate something. So we were doing a bit of research on this topic because I knew we're coming to a riverbed and we're going to be in the Karoo. Now there's not much trees to winch off of. What if I got stuck right here in the riverbed, or anywhere for that matter? Then I'm in trouble because I have a winch, which is great. But the first thing you need to do, and this is, I'm not speaking from experience here, this is things that I have learned through watching guides and videos and tutorials and all that. Just a quick pause here. I'll be referencing Ronnie Dowell's channel quite a bit. He's an Australian YouTuber, does a lot of the four-wheel driving tips and tricks videos. I find a lot of my information on his channel. I'll link it in the description. Please be sure to check it out. There's a lot of good info on there. Any other videos I use and any other videos I found useful, I'll also link in the description. Back to it. The first thing you do is you air down your tires. You take them right down to like 0.5 bar. It won't come off the rim if you're just using it to get unstuck. Obviously when you unstuck, then you can inflate your tires again, but 0.5 bar, man. Go all the way down. Then you dig out what you can dig out under the car, and if you have traction boards, which we have traction boards as well, throw them in and hope that you can get out. If you still can't get out and you have a winch, the problem is, where would I winch myself to? I don't really have an option, do I? So, two things you can try. Actually, three things. First thing is you can buy yourself one of those sand anchors. It looks almost like a plow. It's also very big and awkward to carry around. And you winch this thing into the ground and that kind of anchors you, but the soil's also very soft, so that might not work. Second option is you dig a hole, a decent hole, probably a meter deep. You take your spare wheel, you put a strap through the spare wheel, and you bury your spare wheel. You have to bury it a specific way for it to work, and then you use the spare wheel as an anchor, and you winch yourself out. What you could also do is you could do the same thing with MAXXIS. Put all the MAXXIS in a row. If you dig yourself a hole over here, put all the MAXXIS up straight in the hole, and then you wrap a strap around all those MAXXIS, and you use that as an anchor. There's also a big bag you can buy that you also, after you've dug the hole, you throw all the sand back and you just have the straps on the sides and you can winch off of that. But that's a few options you have. But for now, we're on our way back to camp. This is the road we're going to travel back on. Not too terrible, but if I do get stuck for some reason, then I'll need to make a plan to get unstuck. But we've actually driven this maybe half an hour ago, so you should be fine. So obviously I wasn't really booked. It's all part of the demo. I guess I'd pay for that little bit of deception later. I'd also like to talk about how the vehicle's been treating us this last 8 months of owning it. There's a lot to say, and I'll get into that a little bit later, especially now that I've been home, editing and dealing with the fault. But in this moment, I'm blissfully unaware. We continue to our next campsite, and this place blew us away. We didn't hesitate to set up camp, kick back and soak in the views. One thing I can say for sure is this place is beautiful, but also as soon as the sun set behind those mountains, the temperature dropped pretty damn quickly. So jackets are on. I'm getting things packed away, and then I will get the fire started. And yeah, then we're just gonna hang out. We were worried a bit about when we came to the campsite. We saw either a falcon or a full-blown eagle. I didn't see it for long enough to think what type of bird it was, but it was definitely a bird of prey. And it was circling above, and then soon we realized that the little Yorkie was running around here. So I think that bird was trying to find some dinner. Tonight we're having lamb chops, roasted brood, cheesy jalapeno and feta grillers. Yeah, you can see we like the spicy food. The beauty of wild camping. True silence, real isolation. It's something special, and out here in the Karoo, it just hits different. There's a bit more life in this spot thanks to the Buffelsrivier, and we soak it all in before calling it a night. Because tomorrow, we dive into how the GWM P-Series, or Canon, has been treating us over the last 6 months and 8,000 kilometers of ownership. Another beautiful morning in the Karoo. Once again, we slept really comfortably, no cold issues at all. I believe the lowest the temperatures dropped to was around 3 degrees. We got our signature breakfast sorted, packed up the vehicle, and started preparing for the long trek back home. Now, before we get into the vehicle, I just want to say Buffelsrivier camping was something special. Honestly, one of the best experiences we've had. The freedom, the peace, the scenery, and the hosts were fantastic. I still can't believe we've driven past this area so many times without knowing this gem was tucked away just off the N1. If you've ever passed Laingsburg, maybe plan to leave a day earlier next time. Buffelsrivier is well worth the detour. I'll leave the details in the description below. Now let's talk about the GWM P-Series LTD, or the Canon XSR, after 8,000 kilometers of ownership. Overall, I can say I've been enjoying the vehicle. The part-time 4x4 system has been solid, fuel economy sits around 10.5 to 11 kilometers per litre when touring, and I've genuinely come to appreciate the tech like the radar-guided cruise control. It's smooth, it maintains a safe distance, and it makes long drives much more relaxed. Occasionally I do need to knock it down a gear manually so that it can maintain its speed, but for the most part it works alright. Another thing I've noticed is the traction control system is impressively assertive. On several occasions I expected to need to use diff lock, but the traction control system handled it so well it wasn't required. It's a clear upgrade from what I experienced on the standard P-Series. If you're looking at one of these vehicles now, I definitely recommend you getting the 2.4. The 2 litre is just too underpowered, especially if you're going to go add a rooftop tent, awnings and a draw system. The engine's just going to work way too hard. I'd rather go for the 2.4, and it's the same price anyway. So all in all, I'm very happy with the vehicle and it's been working perfectly thus far. Until this happened. So on the trip home we were cruising back on the N1 and I went to overtake a truck on a long windy uphill stretch. I had to push the car a bit harder than usual, but I was still cruising at around 120, nothing crazy. And just as I reached the top of the climb, the check engine light came on and the power instantly dropped. Not full limp mode, but definitely limited, probably 70 to 80% power. I quickly pulled over when safe and assessed the situation. Long story short, it turned out to be a single faulty injector. The issue triggered a fuel regulation fault and that caused some instability under load. It was covered under warranty and the injector was replaced. Honestly, the engine's been running smoother and quieter ever since. For someone who's maybe a little too obsessed with how a modern common rail diesel should sound, feel and run, that is incredibly satisfying. There's way more to this story though, both technically and in how GWM handled the situation. And I'm still deciding how I'd like to package that into a dedicated video. For now, I'm just happy to report the issue is resolved and the vehicle is back on the road, driving better than ever. Again, please show your support to Buffelsrivier Camping and stay a night or two. They're great people. But that's going to be it for this video, and we'll see you in the next one.